Well, history is ready to be made. A journey coming to a close, a journey which has taken us to the finest locations in virtual Europe. 4 months ago, we started at Monza. Paul Ricard followed shortly after. The legendary Circuit de Barcelona saw us past the halfway mark, and with a dramatic penultimate round of the championship at the Nürburgring, the title race has been blown wide open. 4 drivers sit at the top, separated by just 10 points in the pro category, and just 2 of those have been able to pick up race victories through the season. Will that change tonight as we do battle for one final time? Blajer, Statsenko, Houben, Boothby, just one of them will take the spoils of being the 2023 Mobileye GT World Challenge Esports European Sprint Series champion. There is a lot to go through, highest of which is the fact that neither of us in the commentary booth tonight are your normal voices of David Addison and Paul Jeffrey. It is instead myself, Lewis McGlade. Alongside me is David Christie. And David, we are at Barcelona for the final hour of racing this season, and the championship in the pro category is as close as it's ever been. So, yeah, we should have a bit of fun here.
Super subs called into the rescue, Lewis. That's what it is. What a round to be drawn into. The final round of this scintillating championship. As you said, all the dominoes stacked up nicely here at Barcelona. So close at that pro championship. Qualifying, so much to talk about as well. It is going to be an absolute banger tonight. And I've got an idea that a couple of drivers are going to be sent home crying into their spilt milk.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, it's incredibly close at the top of the championship. Like, genuinely, we were kind of shocked every time you read that about how tight it is right at the front. Obviously, in the pro category, they're battling for a prize pool of €12,000. In the silver category, they're battling for a prize pool of €6,500 as we take a look at those standings. Now, roughly the top 9 drivers can win the championship, but realistically, it's going to be between the top 4. Blajer, Statsenko, Houben and Boothby, all separated by just 10 points. The top 2 of which separated by just a single point. Obviously, everyone below that is out for a little bit of pride for the final round. You've got race winners further down here. Malinovsky, Whitehead will look pretty strong in this final round of the championship, as we can see some of those further down. Whilst the Pro Championship is extremely close, David, the silver category slightly less so.
It leaves a little bit to be desired, to be fair. Wojtek Fiala, I think, can't take anything away from what an incredible season he's had, taking 2 wins out of the 4 races and just dominating this season. As you can see there, what's that, about 34 points ahead of Daryl Lemulo in second place there, Valentin Barrier in third, Eric Del Fante in fourth. And that was a surprise for me as well, seeing Honda having such a wonderful season thanks to the custom BOP in this championship. Really is a lot to fight for. Might be over for the title of this championship, or at least all but over, but certainly I think a lot to fight for in, say, second, third and fourth in the championship. A lot of honours going there.
Yeah, and not just honours, like I said, prize money as well. Like I said, the prize pool being €12,000 in pro and then 6,500 in silver. It does mean that there is prize money dished out between each of the positions. You know, second and third still separated by around just under €400 in the silver category. Obviously more so in the pro category. So plenty of reasons to get out there and go racing. And it all began with qualifying, which has come to a close. And there are some interesting things in that qualifying session. Most notably is that 2 of our top drivers in the championship, the 2 Mercedes drivers, are really struggling around Barcelona, it seems.
Yeah, the Mercs have just not had a good qualifying session at all. Everybody else is up there and having a great time, and the Mercs all grouped together. Not one single Mercedes inside the top 20. That is going to be an absolute revelation. But listen, you know, a lot of these drivers used to driving with one hand behind their back. This is going to be no different, and it's just going to make things even spicier coming up to race time.
You can see the grid here as we'll roll down for the final time this season. Whitehead, Grantas Caracas starting from the front row of the grid. As we can see, there's also a Honda up there as well in Del Fante, Tinko van der Velde. But then the important ones that we're kind of like really focused on in this when it comes to that pro category. George Boothby will be starting from 5th. That is very interesting. Of course, the highest place then of the championship contenders. Mikhail Statsenko will be the driver rolling off from 8th position. So not ideal. The highest of those Mercedes will be Dominik Blajer down in 21st. So a big shock there. 23rd rather for Dominik Blajer. So a big shock for them. Niklas Houben, 32nd in the standings.
It really is unreal. And the thing to think about that as well here, Lewis, is the fact that, these races, being our sprint race, are usually a little bit more volatile than, say, our endurance races. You're going to have, say, 25 to 30 other cars that you've got to try and safely navigate just to try and get yourself into a decent points position. I do not envy any of those drivers outside the top 20 starting this race. It is going to be wild tonight.
Certainly. So you can see some of the big names all the way down the back of the field. You've got Dennis Juniger there as well, one of the Williams Esports drivers. A lot of the Mercedes Unicorns of Love also back this way. Fan favourite Jaroslav Honzik, just 29th on the grid. Saw him in that Yaz Heat Aston Martin. I did see a post about him maybe saying that, is this going to be the last race he's going to be doing in the Aston Martin? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, he'll be focused on moving his way forward from a lowly grid position. But yes, let's focus on the front of the field. As you can see there, it's Luke Whitehead and Grantas Caracas starting on the front row of the grid. Now, for Williams and for Dominik Blajer, who's starting down much further down the order, he obviously has a teammate starting from 4th in Tinko van der Velde in the you literally cannot miss bright green front-ended Ferrari. Do you think Tinko is going to do anything here? And I'm not saying reckon away, but I'm just saying racing really hard with Boothby and Statsenko to try and hope that something might happen to drag the Mercedes of Dominik Blajer into the mix.
Absolutely not. I think at this point in the season, Lewis, every man for themselves. I would have liked to have thought that's going to be the case, but realistically, although it's not likely, technically Van der Velde still has a mathematical shot at this. He's only 26 points behind this, 35 plus 1 points, 35 points on offer for tonight. So it's outside the realms of realism, but as long as you've got that numbers that can add up, I can't see why you wouldn't want to get everything for yourself. Sure, if you can back everybody up, that might help, but I just don't see how that helps Tinko van der Velde.
No, I absolutely agree. I don't think Tinko's going to do anything outside of running his own race unless something crazy happens in the opening lap, which, let's be honest, could happen. Unless something like that actually does come to fruition, just run your own race. Don't try and orchestrate anything. It is not worth it. There is a look at the driver at the top of our standings. Dominik Blajer, 80 points to his name, 24th position on the grid. Mikhail Statsenko will then be the driver at the moment who will kind of run some numbers and stuff behind the scenes. We think it might be Statsenko winning the championship at the moment. He is 9 points clear of George Boothby and obviously starting just 3 positions below. So it could well be on this race start that Statsenko is in the prime position, but it would only be by a tiny margin. And of course, we've got an hour of racing left to do.
The other thing I noticed as well is those BMWs all tightly grouped together, 24th, 25th and 26th there. Again, I think they've been hit just like the Mercedes in terms of fortunateness, and they're going to struggle to pull themselves through. We mentioned about this as an hour race, right? This is completely different to the longer endurance races just because of the driving style of the drivers now. This is all hell loose with these drivers. They will be absolutely determined to get any position, whereas normally you'd see them maybe move aside and calculate their battles and everything like that. No chance tonight. They will be absolutely going for it. So don't expect any niceties here. Don't expect any measured drives. It is all hell for leather over the next 60 minutes here at Barcelona.
Well, I will very quickly ask you to see who's going to come out on top in the race. Not the championship, just the race.
I think it might be Tinko van der Velde.
Interesting. I'm going to go with, I think it might be Luke Whitehead. Either way, we'll have to find out, because the final round of the 2023 Mobileye GT World Challenge Esports European Sprint Series is about to get underway. Luke Whitehead is in control at the front. Grantas Karakis, his teammate for Veloce, starts alongside in that front row. Eric Del Fante will start from third position with Tinko van der Velde in fourth. And then George Boothby, primed to potentially take a championship, will get underway for the series finale. One final hour of racing here at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. It's a perfect start between the two Veloce cars as we head down the hill into that first corner. Lots of fanning out in the background. It's Lemulo looking down the inside in that Lamborghini, trying to make his moves into the first corner. Little bits of contact as we head through that second corner, and it was indeed that Lamborghini that took a little bit of a whack.
Yeah, it certainly was, and you can see that concertina effect already starting to drag the back end of that field about 3, 4, 5 seconds off of that leader already. So you see how you just start to hemorrhage time. You've got contact, which is always going to happen as you've got about 30 cars trying to go side by side. Car off at the back of turn 4 there, and more spinners there. I think that's one of the Aston Martins in the background.
Yeah, you've got Sherry Pennon. You actually have one of the Bentleys that's gone for a bit of a spin and managed to get back going around at turn 4. I am just going to correct myself, by the way. I believe it was Tanitsa, as Romagnoli's also had problems. Look at that in the distance as well. I think one of those might actually be Dominik. No, it's not Dominik Blajer, because he's obviously in a green fronted car. Charlie Crossland is backwards, so adding a little bit of pain to Williams. But those have dropped right out of the fight. What I was going to correct myself is that I actually believe it might have been Tanitsa that was also involved in the carnage in T1. You've got Lemulo, and I think it might be Statsenko going side by side in the background. Look at all this. Kamil Pawlowski coming into the mix.
What a start to this race. This is exactly what I was saying here. All hell breaking loose right now as Pawlowski has got what looks like a 15-car train right behind him. The Audi's really trying to get anything that they possibly can at this early stage of the race. But again, you just have to survive. You just have to survive the 5 minutes of madness. Let the car settle down, and then you can start making moves here, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, what a start it's been from Dominik Blajer, who's already worked himself up into 14th position after just a lap of racing. Rosaire is currently on our screen. Valentin Barriere is trying to go on the attack, a driver that's looked so strong at the start of the season, and it all fell apart over the last couple of rounds. Looking to get something from the end of this in the silver category. He's trying to battle it out now with Rosaire straight around the outside of the first corner. There was one of the ITB cars going sideways. There's Niklas Houben, and he has gone round. That is definitely title done.
Yep, that's it. 72 points he needed to get in the top 3 to even be close to this. We don't know if there's any damage to that car. Back down to P35. Still 57 minutes left to go, but realistically, I mean, how do you come back from that, Lewis? That is a heartbreak right at the early stages here, and this is exactly what tonight was all about, with 4 drivers vying for that title, all fighting very, very hard. There is going to be a lot of tears before bedtime, as I said earlier on.
Yeah, potentially, was contacting that pack. Of course, he was battling around the likes of Jaroslav Honzik and Jardia, so maybe something happened between those lot coming down to the first and second corner. We'll have to wait and see as we look. Dennis Schoeniger ahead of Mark Jonks. Actually, that's not Dennis Schoeniger, I don't believe. I think that'll be Klinkmuller, who's dropped back behind. Schoeniger certainly is in his Unicorns of Love Mercedes. Well, hello, Romagnoli trying to work his way back onto the scene, but going a little bit wide in the first corner. Got to say a little bit as well, Jack Alexander and Charlie Cross into the pit lane. I think their race may well be done already.
I think you're absolutely spot on with that. A lot of these drivers, if they have an incident like that on the first lap where there's either damage or they feel like they're not going to be in contention, they'll just be deciding to throw in the towel here as we're watching the cars come down that start-finish line just now. Interestingly enough, as you said, Dominik Blajer up to P14 already.
Jaroslav Honzik into the pit lane then. It is Yazhi Aston Martin. That is a shame, because that is a car which has definitely seen better days. Less so in the championship, but definitely definitely not in this final round. It's been a bit of a shocker there for Jaroslav. Either way, working their way through turns 2 and then the climb up the hill for 3. Got plenty of battling behind all of this. Kakera and I think Romagnoli continue their fight. You cannot miss this car, by the way. It's quite bright, shall we say, as Romagnoli looks once again down the inside of Klinkmuller.
It reminds me of, well, maybe not the fluorescent pink on the front of it, but the old Benetton from the 90s, just with the fluorescent green and the yellow. Still absolutely hideous, not my cup of tea, but yeah, Helder Carrera doing a rather grand job of it in that number 8 car. I was looking at the front of the field as we've got a race control message there, incident between cars 66 and 75, recent incident. I get the feeling race control are going to be very busy tonight, but Lewis, at the moment, I believe that George Boothby just doing enough to take the points here. Again, we're going to be working out with calculators, slide rules, and even then, I don't think either of us are wanting to trust our mathematics skills.
No, I think you're absolutely right. By the way, that incident that was obviously under investigation was between George Boothby and Tinko van der Velde. So that's a little bit scary as things begin. But I think you are absolutely spot on. George Boothby at the moment would be winning the championship by a mere 3 points over Mikhail Statsenko. The only problem for them is that rising up the order a little bit by bit, is Dominik Blajer. He's actually made the most at the start of the race. He doesn't sit that far behind in the points after that recovery drive, so there could well be some potential for Blajer to get himself back involved in all of this. Well, that doesn't look so good in the background. That's Villa being spun around in an instant with Tauscher and Tillich, I think, so not great for the Castle Blitz driver, as straight onto the scene. Kaikera goes backwards.
That was quite impressive. I thought that looked like it was completely unassisted there, but there was another car off in the background, so it could have been a little bit of a touch there. Samuel Villa's car looking slightly worse for wear. That's not really going to matter with 53 minutes left to go. Just jumped over onto Jardier's stream. It does look like he is not going to be jumping back into that car, so we might have lost him from this final race of the season. Never say never though, but again, 53 minutes left to go. I think if you're done at this point, it's not like you've got another 8 hours where you can recover here. You have to really push it as hard as you possibly can. But yeah, great point about Dominik Blajer. He is doing everything he needed to do, and he's going to be the dark horse. Watch for him just taking place by place by place as this race goes on in that P14 right now. He's still reasonably close to get himself up into that top 5, and I think that is going to be the aim over the next couple of the couple of stints just now, but we'll wait and see here, Lewis.
Super start to the race for Eric Del Fante, of course, running third in the race, but importantly is running first in the silver category. So looking to score some decent points in the final outing of the championship. If you're wondering what's going to be happening in the title race in the silver category, well, at least at the top of the championship, it's set that it will be Wojtek Fiala. But Eric Del Fante will move himself to just a couple of points clear of Valentin Barrier. Of course, there's nothing more he can do. He needs the likes of Barrier to drop down the order just a touch. But it'll be a comfortable championship for Wojtek Fiala. Basically, it doesn't really matter what happens from now on for him. He just needs to keep driving.
It's a strange one for Wojtek Fiala in the silver class, because by all accounts it's been a brilliant season, but it's not been perfect. 2 wins out of the 4, but it's more about the pro class just being completely inconsistent. The most consistent driver we've had in the pro class has been Mikhail Statsenko. I'll come back to that thought in a second as we see Samuel Villa side by side. I think that was Niels Klinkmüller who he was fighting for that position. But yeah, Mikhail Statsenko still, it's been a rather average season, and the rest of them have had at least 2 horrible races. As I think the less said about what happened to Klinkmüller there, the better.
Yeah, that was quite a send, let's just put it that way, from Villa. And now onto the scene is the ITB Centerlock driver of Mateusz Tuszkiewicz, who would probably prefer to be much further up the road, trying to assist one of his teammates when it comes to the hunt down of the championship in Mikhail Statsenko. Either way, Tuszkiewicz should be able to clear Kaikera here coming down into the hairpin. Of course, we're running this tighter section. We're not going around the faster loop. Race control message is that the number 16 has been given a 10-second time period. That's Max Botagna, obviously in an incident between himself and Alberto Garcia. So an instant a bit further up the order is going to put Botagna's race basically to a close. I mean, he's still going to be scoring probably some points if he keeps going cleanly, but they're not going to be great. Just 10 seconds, which will be served in the stop that they'll be making halfway through this race.
Yeah, once you're past the first 10 minutes, the likelihood of you being able to make up massive amounts of time goes almost out the window, because the cars settle down into their rhythm. You can see here already we're about 8 to 10 seconds off of the lead group just now. losing that sort of time, that is a death sentence at this point in the race. It's, fair play, you're still going to keep going on, but it's also a lifeline for those behind, because they know realistically they don't have to charge too much to catch up to Max in that number 16 car. They can just wait till the pit stops come through and then get past there. But what a little battle we've got here for first, second, third, fourth and fifth as well. We're about to have, what's that, a 6-car fight for the lead here?
I'd definitely classify this as a 6-car fight. I know there's a bit of a gap between third and fourth, but of course George Boothby's recently set the fastest lap of the race. I get the feeling there might well be a bit of pace management happening towards the front, not overdoing your tyres. This is a very high tyre wear circuit. You can overheat them very quickly around here. You can get them right out of their comfort zone. And Luke Whitehead, when he's got his teammate directly behind, I could probably imagine there's a little bit of, let's run a couple of tenths slower than we normally would and just make sure that we're getting through this comfortably. I'm sure they're probably on the absolute edge. But it's kind of is what it is. Obviously, the slipstream is helping George Boothby there, which has kind of gained him that fastest lap of the race, setting a great lap through the middle sector as well. Del Fante's had it recently, Boothby's obviously had it, but Tanitsa and Tinko van der Velde are right onto the scene as well. So it's definitely 6 cars. I think behind that, this gap is far too large, and I get the feeling that Maciej Malinowski, that's playing into his hands. He is definitely not going to let Statsenko go, because he wants his teammate to get on after the title.
I think we're going to see bump drafting here very, very shortly indeed. Just a very quick word on that number 71 Italian job car of Eric Del Fante. Now, in my amount of time doing commentary here for ACC, I can't really remember the last time I saw a Honda being, ultra competitive at front. And that number 71 has had a brilliant season, 4th in the championship, 3rd place overall today so far. It's nice to see that, if only because it adds to the amount of different sort of rosters here, and it just evens out the field a little bit.
Yeah, we are just getting a bit of a note, by the way, to keep you updated, keep you apprised as to what Dominik Blajer will have to do if he is to set his sights on the championship today. He needs to finish, at the moment, as things stand, he needs to finish 9th, and that is Boothby finishes 3rd in class. By 9th, I mean 9th in class in the pro category. He needs to finish in 9th place. Boothby would have to finish 3rd then, and Statsenko would have to finish 7th in that case, which is obviously where things are at the moment. What we're basically saying is he's not a million miles away, but the problem with him is that, yes, sure, you've got Kamil Pawlowski there, that's a position to be picked up, fair enough, but then you've got a sea of silver drivers, which he has to work to get past, but he doesn't actually gain any points for getting past them. It's a very frustrating scenario.
Well, on top of that, Lewis, the simple fact is, unless they were sandbagging for whatever reason in qualifying and then magically they've got pace here in the race, they're going to have to deal with the fact that they are 2 to 3 tenths ultimately lap time slower than the cars around them. That is going to be a massive, massive deficit. So I think all the cards are against Dominik Blajer tonight for making this happen. But it makes it blooming interesting and exciting for us here in the commentary boxes. We're seeing Dario Laniolo being forced to the outside there, and as you said, these silver class cars, they're all fighting their own race, but they're also wanting to get in the mix with basically everyone overall.
I am just going to correct myself immediately, because I do always say never trust a commentator's math, but now it's don't trust what a commentator reads. To correct myself, Dominik Blajer would have to finish 6th in class. He is presently 9th in class. You'd actually have to get up to Maciej Malinowski, who's 7th in the race but 6th in class. That's obviously because of where Eric Del Fante is, who's running in 3rd in the race. We actually needs to get up to Maciej Malinowski if he's to win the title, and that is if Boothby does not go any better than 3rd in class. It is possible, but that is a fair mountain to climb, and still the point stands that he has to pass a lot of silver drivers to get into that position. At the moment, this is the driver that will be taking the championship, but I cannot stress enough that we are just 14 minutes into the final hour of the championship. There is so much more left to be played, including that required pit stop that, let's be honest, David, always throws the cat amongst the pigeons. It does spice things up a little bit.
Yeah, it usually does tilt the table quite spectacularly, and I've got no doubt that Barcelona isn't going to be any exception whatsoever. As we see Villa getting a 30-second time penalty for the collision with the number 19 car. That's the Lamborghini of Luca Lozio. That is a massive penalty, so that is... we talk quite a lot in the commentary booth about race control giving a slap of the wrist. That's a punch in the face from race control right there.
Yeah, not quite the harshest it can go. Obviously, you've got stop and go 30s and DQs if they really want to get a little bit spicy with it. But Villa straight into the pit lane to serve that. Now, it wasn't a stop and go 30, so we could have served that in the stationary time through the normal point in the stop. And the reason why I kind of point that out now is that the pit window is not open yet, i.e. he will not be ticking off that's required pit stop at this point in the race. So interesting to see them come straight into the pit lane to come and serve that 30-second time period. That kind of tells me that's almost a... I'll go and do something else with my Wednesday night then.
Yep. Alt-Tab or Alt-F4 seems to be the order of the day with this. And it's a shame because it's the final race, so you'd imagine, you know, the drivers have all put a lot of effort into this season here, Lewis. You'd want to see them finish it off no matter whatever happens, because as you said, there's still a lot of prize money up for grabs even further down. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. I think we've got, Lewis, I think we've got a replay of that.
Yeah, we can take a little bit of a look at the start of the race and see how things unfolded. It was a great start for both the Veloce drivers down into that first corner, but kind of look a little bit backwards. You also got Lemulo in there as well. It was Tanitsa trying to get right the way around the outside in his Lamborghini. There was a bit of contact just around there. It was a bit of a pinch with one of the ITB Santalok drivers and the Veloce. So it's a little bit sketchy in the middle of all of that. That Veloce, of course, is the Malinovsky driven one. This was all up towards turn 4 where we saw 3-4 wide, which is pretty much expected. There was a bit more drama down here. Dominik Blajer trying to side his way through the middle. There was contact on the inside of him. But wow, that was some good judgment, and it gave him some clear ahead, and it all just got worse and worse and worse. That's where Jaroslav Bontic got a bit of damage. Charlie Crossland also got his fair share in all of that. Yeah, that was honestly about as chaotic as I was expecting the first lap to be. I was just expecting it a couple of quarters before.
I was going to say, to be fair, I was watching the way they were all driving there. I was absolutely expecting that to all kick off, and I was away to say, oh, they've done really well to keep a hold of that, given they're four wide there. And then obviously the inevitable happens. And look, once that happens, it's like a Jenga tower. They all just come tumbling down as another penalty for Voigtner. He is not doing very well with race control tonight. 5-second time penalty for causing a collision with the 114. That's Kamil Pawlowski in the Audi in 12th position there.
Yeah, just been maybe a bit too aggressive in the opening stage of the race. Very easy to do. It's I would argue it's one of the easiest circuits on the planet to trip up over someone. Particularly in that middle sector. Obviously all these GT3s, they all drive differently to one another, and it can cause the odd problem and the odd mare through the mid-pack as you head through that mid section of the circuit. So, you know, maybe there's a bit of that to it, but either way, 15 seconds of time penalty then worth of coming into the pit window sequence. There are a lot of incidents under investigation. We're being told it's more than 10, we'll put it that way. They're under investigation from race control. I am not that shocked, particularly with stuff in the opening couple of laps, because we did have a little bit of a crazy town. Thankfully, it's all calmed down just a touch. At the front, not too much is going on, because Whitehead is still able to hang on to the race lead over his teammate Grantas Karakis, the Lithuanian superstar, in second position. Eric Delfante, who, I don't know if you're... Okay, let's try and put yourself into Eric's boots here, as there is another warning being dished out to Voigtner, so that's not a good sign for an issue between himself and Rosaire. If you're in Eric Delfante's boots, do you go on the attack? Because, yeah, sure, winning overalls, cool and all that, but he doesn't get any more points from doing so. He's still winning his category. He's still doing the important bit.
I mean, as if it was me in that car, then yes, I would be attacking. But then I'm just a simpleton with very, very average. Yes. Exactly, that is exactly the point I was going for there, Lewis. So thank you very much for picking that up. But I mean, just looking at this, not just Del Fante, but from Boothby and Tanitsa and from Van der Velde, do any of them look aggressive right now? Do any of them look like they're wanting to fight this? For me, it looks like 6 of them have all got this informal agreement. We're all just going to circulate. That very well likely will change when it comes to the pit stops. But at the moment, they are absolutely gapping Malinowski and Statsenko just now. And for me, this is 3,000 IQ play right now. You don't fight. You're not going to win the race just now. Work together, get a bit of a gap, then have a little battle royale towards the end here.
Yeah, I think you want to wait until post-pit stop, right? Once you pass the pit stop sequence, that's when you can start going on the attack. You know, once you've kind of seen how it's settled out just a touch, that's when you start going on the attack. Right now, there's just no need to go on the attack. How happy would you be behind the scenes at Veloce right now? You've got Boothby sat in third in category, which means it'll be a 1-2-3 for Veloce as things stand in the pro category. And let's just say that Dominik Blajer blasts up the order and gets to 6th position. Well, you can just go, look, Luke, grant us, let him through. And then boom, that's just done. So interesting to see on that one. And then when it comes to their other championship rivals, you know, Niklas Statsenko and of course Blajer, once he gets into the mix, if he does indeed get into the mix, one of the drivers that he would have to pass to get into that position is Maciej Malinowski, who just so happens to be, yes, another Veloce driver. This could not be a more comfortable position for the Veloce esports team as the pit window sequence opens.
I'm going to throw a very hot take into it right now. I'm going to say Dominik Blajer is not going to win this race. He just does not have the pace to take this right now. Not just that, but with that whole thing of charging up field, he can't. He doesn't have the pace to be able to do it. And what is Tanitsa straight into the pits? I just saw him. I was all tapped out. I have a look at the timing screen there. Saw him falling way down, and then realised that he's obviously just decided to head at the pits nice and early. But yeah, Blajer just doesn't have the pace. It's horrible to see and it's horrible to watch. But I can't see him taking this championship tonight.
No, the thing is a lot of people will be like, oh well, you know, BAP, blah 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 blah. Let's just be clear when it comes to a 5-round championship is that you've had the best car for a bit and you've had, you know, an average car. That's how BOP works, as Leonard Toki brings his Mercedes-AMG Team Esports help racing team car onto the pit lane. I mean, Dominik Blajer has done an incredible job of making the most of the previous 2 rounds of the championship, finishing in 2nd and in 1st and grabbing a pole position. The other drivers have matched those results was another Mercedes, that one being Niklas Houben. So they've made the most of that. The problem was the first 2 rounds of the championship, they didn't do very well. Let's just put it that way. And when you're looking to point the finger at where things potentially went wrong in the championship, I think you have to look back at those things, not the present. Right? You kind of, if there were mistakes made, bad luck. You know, other drivers' mistakes. Those are the ones that will be built up in the previous few rounds, not just the pace of the present round, because everyone's had that at least once through the season.
Absolutely, and it's everybody's favourite excuse. It's everybody's favourite boogeyman to point to as soon as something doesn't go their way. Oh, it's the bot, but I couldn't do anything because we just didn't have the pace today, as we're seeing Valentin Barry getting the wrong side of that curb there. But as you said, you know, where's the complaints at Spa? Where's the complaints at Nürburgring when they were getting fantastic results out of it? And it's a highly competitive field. There were still only about 0.8 of a second or 0.7 of a second off of the pace there in qualifying. But just now, it just feels like they're just not going to be able to do it. To be fair though, he is the leading Mercedes right now, as race control messages coming in thick and fast here.
Yeah, certainly. So a couple of them coming out, but it's mostly just racing incidents and warnings. So nothing too major to deal with there from a race control. But there is a 5-second time penalty being dished out to Tauscher, who finds himself in 20th position. This is the battle in silver for what would be 5th place in silver. Voitner, Barrier and Rezer, of course. Remember that Voitner's got 15 seconds of time penalty to deal with once he comes into the pit lane. Valentin Barrier, a driver that presently finds himself sitting fairly comfortably in third in the championship. By fairly comfortably, I mean 2 points clear of Eric Del Fante. He'll probably want to get a little bit further down the road, maybe pick up an extra couple of positions just to settle himself. Here's the driver that's going to be finishing second in the silver category as things stand. And of course he has, it's the champion-elect behind him. If anything happens, maybe that's not quite the case.
Well, we'll certainly see. I mean, we've only got, 35 minutes left to go. That first 25 minutes has absolutely flown by with Grantas Caracas here for Veloci. You asked, actually, a couple of minutes ago about how happy would you be if you were Veloci right now. Supremely happy. They've looked so comfortable at the front. You're absolutely spot on what you said earlier about the looking like pace management at the front, and that's all they need to do right now. They need to just manage the pace. It's all going to change in this next half hour because suddenly the gloves are going to be off. You're going to start finding drivers being a little bit more touchy-feely with each other in terms of wanting to finish where they can, but they're doing everything that they need to right now. They've got a great position. I think what they'd love is have get the proper podium on the go, and of course maybe even get Boothby up to there, get up to that top step if possible. But either way, it's been a fantastic performance from them. But I just don't think they'll have it that easy for the rest of the race.
No, certainly not. Well, Garcia's trying to attack Kamil Pawlowski as we head towards the halfway portion of the race. Dominik Blajer's not too far behind. I think you're absolutely right. At the moment, like I say, Veloci, they're just doing what they're doing. They're just getting through the race bit by bit and seeing where things stand a little bit later on, as we'll have to wait and see where Grantas Caracas is comparatively. Of course, David Tanitsa, who's already been into the pit lane, I believe. I'm not going to trust my live timing just yet, but I was going to say I believe that Caracas might have been in front of Tanitsa still, but I'll wait until I see it with my own googly eyes. And that is indeed the case. Grantas Caracas is just one position ahead of Tanitsa, who's right into this. I wonder if the undercut's the right kind of way to go. I don't necessarily think so, but maybe it is.
I wouldn't have thought so, given that you've got longer to go then on your tyres. I mean, obviously coming out on the fresher tyres, you're going to be able to maybe get a little bit of clean air or whatever, as we see Veloci into the pits in tandem as well. I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I think what makes more of a difference is possibly either coming out into clean air or being able to directly get a tow from a car that's on similar pace or faster than you just in front.
Oh, Tanitsa going on the attack. A little bit of a defensive move being made by Grantas Caracas. And here we go, the up and unders being taken for David Tanitsa. This is for the lead drivers that have already made a pit stop. Of course, they were in that six-car train battle for the racing. Flash of the lights going from David Tanitsa. And that could mean one of two things. Either get out of my way, Chief, or stop defending from me, pal. Let's get ourselves back into the race and make sure that we're with the other four drivers. If not, we ain't fighting for victory. We're fighting for the lowly scraps of just 5th position. Oh, you don't want any of that, as we'll see a couple of those drivers coming out of pit lane. George Boothby making his way. Is he going to be able to hang on to what would be second of the Veloci drivers? The answer to that question is yes. Luke Whitehead will still be the lead of them, and comfortably so, it seems.
Yeah, that was a beautiful set of stops there, and you can see now that has absolutely frustrated David Tanitsa, who possibly fancied getting his way past here. Tries to go around the outside. That's a bold move around the outside of 3 into 4 here. Surely not going to try and hang it around. He's going to be left out to dry there because that car is always going to have the inside line, and McLaren keeps it in. Yeah, wonderful stuff there. But Tanitsa is the sort of driver, I think, that he'll take maybe about 4 corners here before he decides to send it, as more penalties come in, and that's a penalty for the number 92 of Michael Tauscher. Stop go 30 for 15 seconds for causing a collision. That's a stop go 30. So that's speeding.
Surely it's speeding. Surely it's speeding in the pit. Yeah. So as much as we're about to talk about Tauscher getting a second penalty of the day, well, actually he's got a third penalty of the day. It's just the third one is very much of his own doing, unfortunately. That happens. Stop and go 30s. Obviously, speeding in the pit lane, that's what you get for it. It's not a little drive-through, or as it is in Formula 1, isn't it? Something like 5 seconds. Terrible. That's a terrible penalty. Stop and go 30. There you go. Don't speed in pit lane.
At which point does the rim get ripped off the wheel and thrown out the window? Because that is absolutely a thing. I've been there myself. You come into the pitch, you're raging, and you get notified of another penalty. And at which point it's either Alt F4 or something literally gets broken.
Are you quite an angry? Well, I was going to say
yes. Hands down with it. I am the saltiest MF around. It is just unreal when I get like in a proper. And the thing is, because I come across all like fun and jovial. Honestly, even when I'm playing other games like Valorant, right, it's quite hilarious. It's quite sad actually. But yeah, I get really, really angry, especially in VR, because you've got that other barrier on top of like if things go wrong, then you've got to take the headset off, and it's brutal. It's fun for neighbours though.
I was going to say, as long as the headset's one of those things that's not being launched around the room, launching it into pit lane behind all of this is Mikhail Statsenko and that 149. You can see him just coming through. Eric Del Fante into the pit lane, meaning the lone one of those drivers that was in that 6-car train that's staying out on the circuit is Tinko van der Velde at number 66 Williams Esports Ferrari. Was going to say, by the way, about the turn of form that we're seeing from Tinitsa. Of course, started the season quite strongly, not incredibly, but quite strongly. Got himself on the podium in the first round, inside the top 5 in the second, and then dropped off over the last 2 rounds. But seems to find his way back towards the front. Obviously, wants to end. End the year. We're in August. End the year with Lamborghini on a high. I still can't get over David Tinitsa, Lamborghini driver, but that is the case, as Del Fante will leave the pit lane. Where will he be comparatively to this man? A fair way behind, I think.
I think the thing with Tinitsa as well is there's a very strange sort of coincidence with him almost, leaving Ferrari as an official driver, going to the Lamborghini team, and then his resurgence in form, because Tinitsa, he was right up at the front when he was in the Ferrari, but he was like a pinball. He was always the centre of abuse from every other driver, and now he just seems to be able to, I don't know, maybe they just don't recognise him in the Lamborghini, but yeah, he just seems to be able to settle down more and actually, get a much better turn of form from this.
Yeah, I mean, there is a whole thing of fresh starts, fresh horizons. You obviously want to impress your new bosses and all that kind of stuff. So maybe you drive a little bit differently. Maybe that is not overly aggressive as well. Maybe it's playing it a little bit more cautiously around them. Maybe other drivers are playing it a little bit more cautiously around you. Who knows? But at the moment, things seem positive for Tinitsa, as we see another couple of incidents. Car 17 receiving a 5-second time penalty, so another one to add to our list. Not sure who is in the 17, and I'm blind, so.
Yeah, I know. I'm frantically off to the live timing app to go and try and find out who our number 17 is. It's Romagnoli in the Aston Martin. To be fair, the night he's had tonight, he could have had 15 penalties. The amount of contact that he's had, we saw that rather interesting, optimistic, I think is another word for it. Move trying to go around the outside of turn 10 through Mikhail.
Yeah, like I say. Less said about that, the better, I think. Tinko van der Velde will roll off pit lane. Obviously, Matej Malinovsky with him. Matej Suskovic and Mikhail has had quite a few issues throughout the running today. Obviously, Tinko van der Velde will look to try and rejoin the fight for the front of the field. Might well be a little bit behind it, as we can see Lemulo, who's currently running, or will be running second in the silver category once Kokera's dropped down the time list. They are going to be running in that position now. It's just obviously waiting for them to go over the first sector split and then watching them drop backwards. Obviously, Lemulo's sat behind Statsenko. No requirement to attack. Statsenko's 8th in a decent position in the championship. Statsenko doesn't really need to defend either. He's got a sea of silver directly behind him, all of which will cost him 0 points if they pass.
Exactly, and all of these calculations, all of these thoughts will be going through the drivers' heads. You can absolutely guarantee it at the end of this final round of the championship. They're not going to be making any stupid moves. Clip that, because that is going to be words that I'm going to learn to have haunt me in the next 25 minutes. I've got no doubt about that. But Oh yeah, 100%. But realistically, you know, at this top group here, it will be calculated moves. You'll be able to telegraph it maybe a couple of laps beforehand, because you know it's not just going to be a dive up. They'll be working out where their opponents are weak and things like that. But at the end of the day, they need the points, and you know, points for third, say, are better than points for 15th if they crash out. So they need to get a finish.
Are you one of these superstitious bunch that believes in the commentators' curse? We would have had this commentators. We would have had this discussion before, but no, me neither. I think it's total rubbish. It's you know, when you were saying earlier about like BOP being a great excuse and a great boogeyman, I think the commentators' curses as well. If you sit in this race and you go, oh, Luke Whitehead's my favourite driver for the race, I think he might win, and then he bins it, that's my fault. Absolute rubbish.
I do a lot to do with like mindset and stuff like that in my real life work, and that's exactly what it all comes down to. It's about awareness. So you say something and that makes your brain subconsciously more aware of something, or so like, you know, if you say that you're lucky, your brain becomes more aware of that you're more lucky. So if we say something is going to happen or something's not going to happen, then your brain is more aware of it. So if something does happen, you're like, oh, but he just said that XYZ. Yeah, there you go. That's the pseudoscience.
No, I was having a very, very strong discussion with this in Poland at the start of the year, 6 months ago, in February. And the people that I was with, they were like, yeah, but you have it in broadcast and stuff when there's the onboard curse. And I was like, what's that? And they were like, when you're riding on board with someone and then they crash. And I was like, yeah, but you ride on board with lots of people through a broadcast. It just so happens that one in every like 10 or 15. Anyway, we're completely off topic. As you can see, Trey Pennon, they're getting a 5-second time penalty. So a couple of penalties coming in post pit stops. Those ones will be applied post race because pretty much everyone has made their stops. I think everyone has made their stops. So as much as we're in the pit window sequence still, it doesn't mean anything because it's done. Everyone's sorted out their final stops of the season.
Yeah, that's it. That's it over in terms of the pit stops. But now, I mean, realistically, I can't see any massive pace. I can't see any huge chargers coming through the field here right now. Certainly not Dominik Blajer, certainly not the likes of Statsenko, unless they're maybe leaving it for the final 15 minutes, in which case I think it's a little bit too late by that point, because, I mean, the gap now, it is starting to build up a little bit over a couple of seconds. You know, Statsenko is 11 seconds off the lead right now, so realistically, I think we're looking at George Boothby here.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the points. By look at, I mean, I'll read them out. I'm taking a look at the points, courtesy of Ryan Gill, so if you have any problems, it's not my maths, so just to clarify, I've not set up a spreadsheet that tells me my numbers, and I'm certainly not working it out in my head. Thankfully, someone else is doing it who can give it their undivided attention on this part. At the moment, in the pro category, George Boothby will be taking the championship by 8 points over Statsenko. He's 5 clear of Dominik Blajer in his current position. Then Grantis Caracas will be moving up into 4th position, with Niklas Houben, after his issues, dropping down to 5th. Tinko van der Velde could actually gain a little bit from this, because he's only 1 point behind Niklas Houben in the pro category. So it could be some extra points. To be fair, David Tanitsa's not a million miles away from Tinks. He's only 1 point behind Tinko van der Velde. So a very tight fight, 5th in the pro standings. In the silver category, as we've said, Wojtek Fiala is going to be our champion as things stand. Yamulo in 2nd. Valentin Barriere on 97 points is just 2 clear of Eric Del Fante. Now, as we said much earlier in the broadcast, Del Fante can do nothing more. He is in the lead of the silver category. Nothing's going to change for him in that scenario unless he drops it. Wojtek Fiala, though, really can't afford to drop any more positions. Presently sat just behind the driver that's going to finish 2nd in the silver championship, but directly behind him is Fleischer and Garcia. So he will probably have to deal with a fair amount of pressure, and that is, you know, that's positions which switch how much money he's going to be winning from the championship. So, you know, you finish 3rd, you win a certain amount, you finish 4th, you win less. So, you know, finish 3rd.
Yeah, you need to keep pushing. That's the ultimate key message out of all of this. Even if you're having a rubbish race tonight, it's all about those championship points, and you have to be able to kind of take that zoomed out view and, you know, almost get the bigger picture of what's going on. Very difficult, it has to be said, for these drivers to be able to do that, which is why usually they have teams behind them. They'll usually have folk on their voice chat channels, just maybe talking them through all of the different outcomes of tonight, or they could just be sitting in complete silence. But either way, they'll have done their prep knowing that tonight they just need to finish. They just need to finish as good, the best possible position that they can. But what a turn up, though, the fact that we're looking at potentially George Boothby coming into this evening, 4th position, 10 points off your race leader, at the back of that group that we were saying were in contention for this, and looking very, very good with just 20 minutes left to go here.
Yeah, by the way, anyone who wants to know the difference on prize money, what I was talking about there, I just had a quick look up. The difference between 3rd and 4th in the silver category, as I said before, is almost €400. And that's kind of like when you're sat there thinking, like, the difference between me and 400 extra euros is 2 points. That is terrifying. That is a single position in this race. That is very, very scary indeed. And so it could be a fairly uncomfortable position to be in over the final portions of this race. So yeah, I'm curious to see how this one's going to kind of play out, because it's like I say, it's a little bit uncomfortable for likes of Valentin Barrier in that championship challenge. At the moment, he was 16th on the road. He's got a couple of seconds back to Luca Lottier, but again, these gaps are closing in all the time as that pit window is finally going to come to a complete end, even though everyone had already made their stops. Again, post-race time penalties, or the time penalties will be added post-race. So anyone that has them at the moment, including this one, a brand new one to be thrown out there for the 993. That is Samuel Villa receiving a 10 seconds time penalty, which will be added post-race. As we can see, Kamil Pawlowski working his way through. Tringale and Dominik Blajer a long way off the back of him in 15th.
You were on about the little fight there for 3rd place and 2nd place in the silver class as well. And I think with Fiala having the pressure of the championship lifted from his shoulders as well, I think he'll just be seeing the cash register when he looks at Dario Lanulo in that number 60 Lamborghini. He'll be wanting to take that position, but again, there's a lot of tyre management, there's a lot of pace management, I think, going on here, knowing you've got 20 minutes left to go. Leave it until you've got, sure, you're not going to take the lead of the silver class, but you can hang behind that 2nd place. Make sure you've got enough tyres, enough pace in the car left to go, so that when 10 minutes hit, you can absolutely light the fuse, head up the road, and make sure that you can't be caught.
Lighting the fuse and setting out the decent lap times at the moment is Luke Whitehead at the front of the field. 1.2 seconds now clear of champion-elect George Boothby, 2nd in the road. Grantis Caracas over the rear end of Boothby, who surely won't do anything, and if he does do anything, it won't be risky in that Veloce camp, who are sitting 1st, 2nd and 3rd in this race. And if you want any more positivity for the Veloce camp, they also have another driver inside the top 10 who just so happens to have the fastest lap of the race, that one being Maciej Malinowski. Warning to car 17. Of course, they did pick up a penalty fairly recently, that one being Romagnoli. So we've got a penalty to deal with over the final moments of the race, and also now a bit of a warning as well. So they've been busy behind the scenes, which isn't too much of a shock in this championship. We have seen race control getting involved with a fair amount, because when you've got 40 cars on a tiny bit of tarmac, all battling it out, and they're all, let's just put it, egotistical. They're all quite egotistical. Yeah. There's going to be a few bruised egos.
Yes, I think that's a polite way of saying it, Lewis. Bruised, very, very much indeed. Another penalty coming in for the number 19, Luca Lottier this time, between 19 and 29. Safe to say they've had a little bit of an argument throughout the course of the day. We're watching Tinko van der Velde here as well, onto the back of that Audi just in front. The Honda in front of Eric Del Fante. 16 minutes left to go here. I am absolutely fascinated by how reserved and how calculated these drivers are being in this top 6 right now. I was expecting fireworks, I was expecting dives left, right and centre, but it's all been very, very cool, calm and collected.
yeah, I'm a bit disgusted actually. I want to see more. Why are they being smart the round that we join? For Pool and Adders all season, there's been some crazy fireworks between some of this grouping. Suddenly, me and you come along, everything. Let's just calm it down for a little bit. Let's have a calm end to the season. Fair enough. You can't fault them. They're all driving like the drivers they should be. They're driving like drivers at this level, which is exactly what we want to see. And as we ride on board with Del Fante, I don't think there'll be any major risks for Eric Del Fante. Obviously, currently running in the position that he wants to be in. 5th, probably not it, but 1st in the silver category. Looking for a very, very solid evening's positions. And also, we've said it before, we do like seeing the Honda up towards the front. We've got a little bit of a soft spot for the Honda.
Yeah, because it's been a bit of a minnow in this game for a number of years now, and these championships where you can have your own custom BOP, it's great to see that up at the front and being in the mix as well. It's a great car, great fun to drive, and just great to see more manufacturers. I'm still not going to hold my breath to see Lexus back up there. It's maybe a little bit too past it. But yeah, a chance would be a fine thing as we're riding on board with Valentin Barrier onto the back of Dominik Blajer. Now, I said that we weren't going to see fireworks and handbags before dawn. That might change with this one here though, because I get the feeling that Barrier's definitely got the pace to get past Dominik Blajer here.
Yeah, a couple of NFAs there from race control, so no penalties being dished out. Valentin Barrier is a driver who's well versed with how fast that Honda came out on ACC, and it was actually, for a very short period, a really decent car. And then again, kind of normality resumed, and it wasn't the one to be picked. But it's still, like I say, every now and then you see it do quite well. Certain circuits that favour that mid-engine. I remember it ran quite well. That's one of the first races I ever did. So it was way before to be there. One of the first races I ever did on ACC, comms-wise, was the SimGrid VCO World Cup, the first round of that, which was the 12 hours of Bathurst. There was a bit of one of the Hondas was running really well in that race. As we can see, yet another penalty for Rowan Nearly. I did say he got a warning fairly recently. Obviously had a 5-second time penalty, now added another one to that. So yes, whilst he sat in an okay spot in the silver category, he's going to drop back 2 positions at the moment to behind Voitino. Should stay ahead of Cherepenin, who's 27th overall, because he's actually more than that 10 seconds off of the rear end of Romagnoli.
Well, what an amazing turn of events this is. I mean, it feels like, one of those Oprah memes where you get a penalty, you get a penalty, you get a penalty, you get a penalty. Everyone's getting a penalty right now, but they're all outside the top 15. The top 10 are keeping themselves very, very clean and clear just now. This, I think, has got a lot of potential here. Tinitza, Del Fante and Tinko van der Velde. I think there could be a little bit of a nibble starting to happen over the next 5 minutes or so with these drivers here. I might be massively mis-selling this. It might come absolutely nothing, but I am very hopeful because that Honda, it was up in 3rd position. It was running completely clear, and now the Lambo and Ferrari seem to be able to get their teeth stuck into that car. But 12.5 minutes left to go here. This is now the business end of the season ticking to a close.
No, I mean, I think there is definitely going to be something in this because Tinko van der Velde can get himself 5th in the championship. Now, obviously, the next move will not net him any points in that. Eric Del Fante, obviously the leader in the silver category, no extra points in doing so. But getting past the next driver, David Tinitza, will cause a bit of a swing. Now, Tinko van der Velde is just a single point behind Niklas Houben and a single point ahead of David Tinitza. So yes, I think there will be some fighting happening in all of this. There's surely got to be something left on the table as a warning was dished out there to Marco Jonkers in that 203. I mean, obviously, Del Fante's not going to get out of the way. He's going to keep driving his race. But I do get the feeling that if Tinko van der Velde made a big look to the inside, one of those ones where it's like you're committing to it and you're basically saying, all right, pal, you've had a great race, but jump out of the way. I think Del Fante will jump out of the way. In fact, here we go. Literally like that.
we were talking about the commentator's curse earlier on. That's not the commentator's curse. That is just absolute prediction right there from Lewis Blade. That was telegraphed. That move was. Jeez, but you're absolutely spot on. And the reason for that makes sense for Eric Delfante is because he's not fighting them. Yes, it's great to have an overall position, but he doesn't care. He's leading the silver class, and by some considerable margin as well. It doesn't matter. Let them go. Let them have their little fight, and chances are you'll possibly even be getting third place anyway when they come together. But yeah, what a race this is so far. Just awesome stuff to see. 11 minutes left to go, and I think, for all intents and purposes, these drivers have all done themselves proud for the final race this season.
Yeah, certainly so. Was Kamil Pawlowski and Tringale battle for the final positions inside, or the final few positions inside the top 10 in the pro category. I think it's 7 and 8 they'll be fighting their way for. As we'll see, Tringale trying to make his move. He's still not been able to do anything about Kamil Pawlowski. He has been sat there for quite a while. Obviously, you've got Garcia just down the road, not for position for them in the silver category, but obviously, position on the road, so Banter, we might well look at it at some point, but I get the feeling that Pawlowski's attention will be purely on keeping Tringale at arm's length over the final 10 minutes and 20 seconds. A 5-second time penalty being dished out to Niklas Houben, once again proving that this has not been the round for him. Still in an okay position in the championship, but that will cost him a position which I think in turn will actually give Tinko van der Velde that all-important fifth in the championship that we've been talking about.
Absolute madness to think that Stuart issued 12 penalties already in the past 50 minutes here. So as all of that is unfolding in front of us, as you're saying about all the championship standings, and you'll forgive me because I just don't have the amount of hands, fingers, toes, knees, slide rules, calculators, all that sort of stuff. Also, I've been severely bitten doing commentary before, predicting positions and maths and stuff like that, and it all bit me very, very horribly. So yeah, I ain't touching that one with a barge pole. We'll wait till the results come out for me, but yeah, either way, there's still so much, as you said, the prizes to fight for just now, the championship standings to fight for just now, and also, bragging rights as well.
Yeah, certainly so. So at the moment, because of that penalty, I think that would actually, well, I say it will cost Houben the 1 point that might make a difference. I think at the moment they might be on the same point, so I think Van der Velde still probably has to get after this. And to be fair, at this point, if I'm Van der Velde, I don't care about what's happening behind. I know there's a position ahead and I want to get it. It would mean that I think there will be no points gained in this round by Niklas Houben, courtesy of that penalty as well. So again, we'll keep our eye on that as he comes to look to the inside. It was kind of a late look. It wasn't really done with any intent to send one down the inside, more just trying to fill up the mirrors of David Tinitza, which kind of pointless when you've got a driver at that level in their sim racing career. They don't care if someone's looking down the inside. You could be flashing lights, you could have sirens on for all he cares. Tinitza's just driving his own race.
He certainly is, but it's not going to stop Tinko from having a little look left, right and centre. And the thing is wherever he makes that move, he's going to have to make sure that it does work and does come off for that Williams Esports machine, because Eric Delfante is being polite here at sitting behind. I think he's actually now being slowed up by these pair and potentially could have a little bit of pace here. But again, this is bubbling over very, very nicely indeed here, as even more race control messages come through warning to car 12 for causing a collision. That's Sebastian Apostle in the BMW.
Yeah, certainly so. So unfortunately, Apostle for West Competition Racing picking up a warning, but obviously not a penalty just yet. We'll have to wait and see. There's still 7.5 minutes left to go. And as much as we're being told the stewards have caught up with what's going on right now, which is great because that means that we're all set for the final 7 minutes of this championship, there's still plenty of time left to go. There's still 4 laps left really on the table. There's still plenty of position switches up for grabs. I get the feeling that exit off the final corner was plenty good enough for Tinitza to keep Tinko van der Velde at bay. But Tinko will be on the attack. Is there going to be a switch here for Grantis Caracas? Trying to close in on George Boothby. Again, if there is going to be a position switch here, let's just clarify, it will not be with any major risk at all. And that is a big if, by the way, because I get the feeling that if I'm Grant Caracas, I'm staying as far away off the back of that 296 as possible.
There's safe to say there is a little bit of gamesmanship going on. They're pushing. Caracas wants to show that he's really hustling that car, but realistically, never in a million years is anything going to happen between those two. There's plans. I'm going to add that asterisk in because we've seen through multiple forms of motorsports miscommunications happen, accidents happen, and so it's not out the realms of possibility, but certainly planned-wise, that is not going to change unless it's a very deliberate affair, as we're watching Dario Lamulo here for VS Racing by Ballas Esport in that number 68 Lamborghini, again onto the back of Statsenko. And realistically, Statsenko hasn't been able to have anything to throw in here. Dominik Blajer hasn't been able to throw anything else here. We saw Niklas Houben getting removed from the equation very early on, so that's only left one other name in the mix here.
Yeah, certainly so. By the way, we are getting a bit of an update here for where things are standing in the championship, because at the moment, all things would lead to, as I said before, Niklas Houben and Tinko van der Velde being joint on points. They'd be on 72 points apiece, which then means on countback it would be Niklas Houben taking 5th in the championship. Tinko van der Velde will be not liking the sound of that. Of course, the winner of the opening round of this championship. Oh, did this championship kind of fall apart a little bit for Tinko? I did say before, because obviously having watched that first round of the championship from the sidelines and seen some of Tinko's early season form, not just in this championship but elsewhere on ACC, I thought this was going to be a very new year for Tinko van der Velde and that he was going to be one of the drivers to beat. He started out so incredibly strong. And it's not that he's been poor, because he has not been, right? This is still one of the top level drivers. Just hasn't quite captured the imagination like he did in that first round of the championship, taking the victory in Monza. Again, it's time to potentially turn that around. It's time to potentially grab himself a top 5 in the championship, which would be very well deserved after what has been a hard day's racing. Del Fante's obviously going to sit behind him and just cruise to the silver class victory. So Van der Velde's got eyes completely forward. The only issue for him is that Tinitza's reacted on pace.
I think the thing with Van der Velde as well is that what you have to take into consideration is the sheer volume of competitions and championships that these drivers are involved in, and I think that could be a byproduct of maybe the attention starting to go to other championships and maybe less importance being put on some others. Or if you're not, you think, oh well, I'm not in contention to win this one, but I'm maybe in contention to win the other one, then I'm maybe going to put less time into here and more time into there. It's just a natural thing of the professional esports driver here, Lewis. A sentence that I never thought I'd be uttering about 5 years ago here, but certainly these drivers having to take part in 6-7 different championships at least every single week here, as that was very late on the brakes there for Van der Velde.
That was a proper look on what I believe might be the penultimate lap, but I'm not 100% sure. They are running very quickly. It's going to come very close. We'll keep our eye on it to see when the final lap begins for Luke Whitehead. Obviously, they're running around 1 minute 44s at the moment, so it could well be we're on the penultimate lap of the race. That was a proper look. I think Van der Velde knows that the time is ticking down. There is a look at George Boothby, who looks both sweaty and calm. Sweaty potentially because it's hot in the country at the moment. Calm because teammate ahead, teammate behind, also a quality driver. This is pretty. Again, as I said earlier on in the broadcast, it's about as good as it could be for Veloce right now.
And it's a controlled performance from Veloce as well, which I think makes it look even better for them, if that makes sense, because it shows how dominant they've been in this performance. They've not had to fight off any of the other drivers just now. It looks like a very cool, calm and collected race for these drivers, and I think that reflects very well on the team. They really couldn't have done anything more in this drive today, but Luke Whitehead come round the corner for could be the penultimate lap here.
There's plenty of time, absolutely plenty of time for us to enjoy another final couple of laps of proceedings here. Whitehead will be enjoying this, Boothby will be enjoying this, Caracas will be enjoying this. Tanitsa and Tinko van der Velde maybe slightly less so, as they're in a pretty intense fight. You can see how much of the curb Whitehead's using. Got to be said, again, it's been a very impressive performance from Luke Whitehead thus far in the fifth and final round of the championship. I've said before, when it comes to winners this season, we've had 4 of them thus far. Tinko van der Velde won the first race, Maciej Malinowski won the second, and then Dominik Blajer and Niklas Houben, meaning that we would be taking 5 races and 5 different winners. Also, coincidentally, 5 qualifying sessions, 5 different pole sitters. So it's a pretty solid margin. And when it comes to pole position to race victory, there is only one time this season where pole position hasn't been translated to victory, and that was round 2 of the championship, where Maciej Malinowski stole it from Boothby.
Well, to be fair, Lewis, you did call it as your prediction at the start of the race that Luke Whitehead was going to be taking this one. You were absolutely spot on with that from what we're seeing just now. Again, that pole position, a very strong place to be, but more importantly, I think it's evidence of, just how much pace are in these pole position cars and how strong the rest of the field is. What was it, about 0.8 of a second separating top 34 drivers through qualifying here as Luke Whitehead makes his way around the final corner for this penultimate lap here to start the last lap here, Lewis.
Yeah, victory lap for Veloce. What will be the case as well in the battle for 4th? Because I get the feeling that every time we kind of look back there, Tinko van der Velde is getting closer and closer and closer to the rear end of Tanitsa. See if there's going to be any move in the background. I think he's not quite close enough to make a big dive into the first corner. The timers tick down to 0. We are on the final lap of not just the race, but of the season as well. Van der Velde will know that, and he'll know that the switch for the positions ahead will be worth plenty of money. If he finishes, 6th in the championship with €720, 5th is 840, so there's an extra €120 to make a single move. I mean, hey, that's drinks for a night, isn't it?
Get it sent from 2.5 seconds away. Just fire it up the inside. You're fine. Just it's definitely a motivating factor, but it's awesome to see as well, the fact that you could earn a couple of €100 just for doing an hour's race here. One of the hardest races, it's got to be said, that you will likely take part in this month, but yeah, either way, it's a great motivator.
And of course, 4 hours of racing prior to this in the championship, all of this coming to a close. As they head into the final sector, it has been a pretty comfortable drive for Whitehead. It has been a pretty comfortable drive for Veloce. Unfortunately for Whitehead, as he's going to come through that final sector and take the spoils of the race victory, all of the attention will go to a single position back. I think he'll be okay with that though, because it is his teammate that will come through the final corner as well to take the championship in the 2023 Mobileye GT World Challenge Esports European Sprint Series. It is George Boothby on top in the pro category. It was a tough fight for him after a fantastic and thrilling qualifying session that put him in position to steal the title. He comes across the line and it is top honours for him. He had to work for that though. He'd had a couple of poor rounds coming into this, the question marks being thrown all over the place. He goes from 4th in the championship to 1st. Eric Del Fante will take victory in the silver category in the race, moving his way up in the championship. But of course, the title will go to Wojtek Fiala. There was no real question about that. The driver had looked so comfortable, so calculated through the season, had taken 2 victories in the previous couple of races, podiums in the other, adds another one to the list and takes home the title.
Beautiful stuff. Very well deserved from both of those drivers, from Wojtek Fiala and from George Boothby there. To be fair, I mean, that was a really grueling race there, Lewis. It wasn't the barnstormer we thought it was going to be in terms of action and drama, but either way, what a brilliant way for the season to end. What a brilliant way for the race to end. And I think we're going to have some very happy teams and drivers very shortly.
Yeah, obviously we'll be catching up with a select few of our fantastic competitors throughout the championship. Oh, a post-race time penalty as well. 10 seconds to be sent the way of the number 35, who is in that 35? Again, we are idiots and we're blind, so it's going to take us a second.
It's Mikhail in the Audi.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Not the way you want to end the season by picking up a penalty in those final few stages, but sometimes that is just how it goes, isn't it? I think there'll be a lot of sour drivers out there, David.
Oh yeah, look, at the end of the day, you're always going to have excuses. You're always going to have shoulda, woulda, coulda if you're outside of the podium for your class. But ultimately, it's the final race of the season. You've fine if you've got things about the race, then yes, that's fine. If you've got complaints about the championship, then maybe you shouldn't have left it all to the last race.
No, certainly not. As we can take a little look at some of the things from the earlier stages in this race, some of that drama down into the first corner, some of the drama which drivers like Dominik Blajer did everything they could to navigate their way through. Quite close contact between Grantas Caracas and Luke Wyatt, but again, perfectly judged between the grouping. I would drag them in, but I'm definitely concerned that we'll be picking them up mid-word, knowing how they are. But thankfully, someone else is far braver than I, because now we're being joined by our race winner in the pro category, Luke Whitehead. What a drive, man. Just lights the flag and looks great for Veloce as well. First, second and third. You've got to be proud.
I don't really have any words, honestly. It's been probably the toughest season I've ever had, sim racing wise, just with nothing going right, having really bad luck continuously, getting crashed off in like 4 of the rounds and having bad bop in the other one. So to finally have a win, it's just, I'm a bit of a wuss because I cried when I crossed the line. But that just tells you how much it means, not just for myself, but also for the team. 1, 2, 3, and George won the championship as well. It's like, the perfect story for the team. I'm so proud of everyone. And I'm speechless. Absolutely speechless.
Now, it's the perfect way to end a championship. So talk us through how you might carry this into seasons in the future. Because when you finish a season with a race victory, it just kind of gives you that extra confidence boost, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Especially when, as I mentioned, the season was so tough up until this point. So obviously a bit of self-doubt creeps in every now and again when you feel like you're not performing to a standard that you should be. But obviously, I'm just so happy with this, and I'm gonna savor it for sure, because it's I feel like I've deserved it, but obviously stuff hasn't been in my favor. So for it to finally go my way and be the quickest Porsche as well by a fair distance is feels really special. Feels really, really special. Probably one of my most valued wins, I'd say.
And finally, let's have a few thoughts. George Boothby taking the victory in the championship. Like I say, you said it was a proud moment for the team to have that 1, 2, and 3, but to see your teammate come across the line to take that, it's almost as if all of the work that you've all put together has come fully to fruition. Yeah,
100%. Not 100%. We were all in voice chat, talking strats before the race, talking what we were going to do, with covering obviously George's championship rivals, because again, they were all very close, and everything just went our way, and we all worked really close together, all did everything that we could as a team to pull that result through. And as I say, George has worked super hard this season, and I couldn't think of anyone who deserves it more than he does. But not just him, obviously Mache and Grantas, and obviously myself, and also Valentin Barrier, who unfortunately was leading the silver championship up until a couple of rounds ago. But we all worked super hard, and I'm so proud of everyone. And we deserve this one.
Well, Luke, we'll let you get off and celebrate. I'm sure you'll be joined by your teammate a fair while, because obviously we'll have a little chat with him.
Yeah, no worries. But great to speak to you all, and take care. Enjoy your evening.
There we go, Luke. Congratulations on a very well-deserved race victory. Again, it just shows that when you put in the work, sometimes you properly come out on top. We'll have to wait and see if we're going to get George Boothby in just a second as well, because it would be great to catch up with our championship. But before that, we'll go to our silver race winner, Eric Delfante, who obviously qualified very well. 3rd position, was running in the pro leaders as well for quite a while. Eric, talk us through your race, because you were battling with people that it almost seemed like you shouldn't have been.
What do you mean? Yeah, it was a really good race. I didn't expect that at all. The pace was mega, and so I didn't expect that, and I'm very happy. I can say only that. It's an unbelievable result for me in my first SRO season.
Now, you finished second in the previous race, obviously topping the season off with a race victory. Every one of your results was better than the last. So what can we expect from you in the future if you're going to keep building like that? Surely titles galore.
Yeah, I think the car improved during the season, so it was easier for me to do that result. But like I said, I didn't expect that at all. But I'm really happy.
Now, you say it was your first season in SRO. Talk to us about how that's been. You're obviously taking it more from a personal perspective, how the struggles have been, how the positives have been, what it's like racing in a championship that's got such high esteem.
It was really fun with these really fast guys. So my first experience, it went really well, and so we will see in the next years how it is.
Well, Eric, once again, it was a brilliant drive from you.
Thanks,
Thank you so much, and enjoy yourself.
Thanks. Good evening.
Again, what a drive. What a silver category victor there in Eric Del Fante. Did a super drive. And like you say, just kind of kept out of trouble. Was rolling with the big boys in the pro category up towards the front. And there was a part of me that was thinking that maybe the victory was on the cards, potentially overall. But of course, you're only going to be fighting for the victory in your own respective category. Well, champion alert, because here comes George Boothby. Wow, fourth in the championship coming into it after a couple of, let's just go with not so great rounds, to take a title. George, what's the emotions like at the moment?
Yeah, it feels amazing because the last two rounds was just obviously really, really difficult. I think I underperformed and the car just wasn't quite there. So, it put me on the back foot after such a strong start to the season. And yeah, man, I knew this car was like not the quickest, but it was definitely able to fight in this final round. That's what I needed. So I just really grinded to get good at it. And this is like a really good track for me as well. So yeah, quali went well. And then I just made sure in the race to, any move I made it stick. Made sure I kept consistent. There were a few little mistakes, but it is what it is. And then yeah, the pit stops was where I was able to make such an advantage because I managed to undercut and overcut a few people, and there we have it. Like I just had to keep it tidy to the end. So I don't know, man. I'm so like happy. I just can't believe it.
Now, what was the feeling like after qualifying? Not only seeing obviously yourself in a decent position, but seeing a lot of your teammates in decent positions and knowing that you were going to get quite a lot of assistance.
Yeah, obviously that helps. We don't want to do team orders unless we have to. We know a lot of other teams have done team orders in the past few races, so we did have that in our back pocket, I guess, if we needed. But we didn't need to in the end. So we just drove our race. I mean, at the end, Grantis didn't attack me because I think that would have been a bit silly. But yeah, we didn't need to do any. We just drove our races and we managed to get a Veloce 1, 2, 3. So yeah, it's a great way to end the championship for our whole team.
I think serious talk. This is something that I'm sure a lot of people watching will want to know. You're battling for a championship. You're in a good spot. The race starts at Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, going through turns 1, 2, and 3. It's sketchy. Mm-hmm. What is going through your mind on that run down to the first corner?
I don't know. My head just went blank. I kind of just sent it, and it worked. I made a little bit of contact with Tinko, but I think it was he hit my rear left wheel, so I think it's just like a racing incident, really. It's one of those things. But yeah, I just sent it in, made a position, and then then the race unfolded. So yeah, but yeah, Barcelona. I've been the victim so many times at this first corner. So I guess maybe a bit of experience helped out there.
Well, it's another accolade to throw into your large book now. Accolades, George. Thank you so much. You're our Pro Series champion.
Oh, thank you so much, and also shout out to the whole team, Veloce and all the drivers. They've all been fantastic, and also my family and my baby, because they say when you get a family and when you get other commitments, you get a few steps slower. But I can safely say it didn't happen. So yeah, just really happy, and obviously thanks to all you guys for running such a great event. So thank you. Cheers.
And we also can confirm George does not neglect his family, so it's fine. Cheers, George.
Hey, thank you so much, guys.
There we go. Our pro class champion here. Again, a fantastic effort. But George Boothby taking the pro class in the Mobileye GT World Challenge Esports European Sprint Series. Of course, there's one final person that we definitely want to interview, because Wojtek Fiala was the driver that was able to take the silver class champion. Although this one was a bit more settled. Obviously came into it with a couple of race wins over the previous couple of rounds. All you had to do really was just finish.
Yeah, that's literally it. I was just chilling this race. Finally, didn't really have to practice a lot. Just went there, did the job. Yeah, job finished, championship won, easy.
Is there sometimes maybe a little bit of fear of something like complacency kicking in, or do you still have that confidence that like you're good enough even with less practice than normal because you're already in position?
I mean, I always know my pace. So I knew that even if I wouldn't really practice a lot, that I would be within like 2/10 at least, and that's where I kind of was. So I think I was still like P3 in the silver class or something. So yeah, it was fine by me.
Yeah, it was another podium to add to the 4 that you already had just prior to this. And like you say, a dominant championship. Let's just put it that way. So what can we expect from you in future? Are we going to make a run in the pro class?
Well, hopefully run in the pro class, and yeah, like I'm glad that I've been finally getting way better this year, and I've scored some wins in the IGTC as well, IGTC championship with my team, and yeah, it's been going great this year. So let's continue that.
I was going to say, we all know that you're a driver that's got some very solid pace in you, obviously being a part of the Williams Esports camp, which is quite strong here on ACC. Seeing some of the results and stuff coming in all over the place in the Williams Esports team, does that kind of boost you? Does that kind of push you a little bit forward as well in championships like this?
Yeah, definitely. Like my teammates, like they helped me so much this year too, and pushed me to get so much better, like especially race pace and just teaching me all the little tricks to not crumbling under pressure and everything. Yeah, it's really helped a lot.
Well, we'll let you jump off and enjoy the spoils of being our silver class championship. Wojtek Fiala, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That one was more of a given towards the start. He seemed very calm, very collected, David, and yeah, it's all over. We've got our pro class champion, we've got our silver class champion, and you got to say, both very, very worthy.
Oh, absolutely. And I have to say a big shout out. I did notice a little bit earlier on with Luke Whitehead mentioned that he got emotional. We've all, as sim racers, we've all been there. We've all had that moment where it seems stupid to other people outside, but for you, it means the absolute world. I think for me, it was at some iRacing 24-hour event, that my first ever endurance event, I cried as well. It's a very common thing. Absolutely amazing race tonight, but yeah, very, very worthy champions. It's been an awesome season. Just here's hoping for the next one next year.
Yeah, certainly so. Like I say, I'll back that one up in saying that I think a lot of sim racers think it's really stupid until you're in that scenario, and then it's really now for the 2023 season of the Mobileye GT World Challenge Esports European Sprint Series. We are over. There's still plenty more racing left to come, not just here in 2023, but also in 2024 as well. It's not that far away. From myself, Elizabeth Lay, from David Christie, of course, over the season as well, from Paul Jeffrey, from David Addison, from everyone behind the scenes of these broadcasts, and of course, a major thanks to all of our partners. We will see you in the near future, but until then, have a very warm goodbye.